Good afternoon, everyone. This is Flying Gato, and today we're taking a look at my 2011 335D. Now, for those of you that don't know, the D in 335D stands for the diesel. So this is, in fact, the E90 BMW diesel that was sold between 2009 and 2011. 3 short years. In those 3 short years, only about 10 to 12,000 of these models were sold, so not very many, and so it was replaced by the 328D. The 328D is still sold currently. It has, the biggest difference between this car and that car is that that car has a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, and this car has an inline 6 twin turbocharged engine. So, as you can imagine, there's a big power difference there. Today what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the car, we're going to take a look at the outside, take a look at the inside, take a short drive, and during the drive I'll explain what the differences are between this, how it is now, and how it was when I reviewed it when it was stock. So, as you remember when I told you in my previous review, this car was going to be taken to get a nice tune on it, and it already has it, and I'll be talking about that during my drive time. So, without further ado, let's get started. So I put the blinkers on just so you could see the design of it, and yes, this is my favorite part of the car, especially because of the angel eyes. So if you take a look at the outline there, there's angel eyes. We call it angel eyes. We've been calling it angel eyes for a long time. I'm not sure why we call it angel eyes, but that's what they're called. They're very distinctive BMW. Other cars, the aftermarket has offered them up for other cars, but this originally came on BMWs as far as I know. And if you can see right in there, you see the projector headlamp, and that is HID. So you have a projector headlamp that's HID, and you have this right here on the left, and that's actually not the high beam. That's the cornering lamp. So when you're turning left, it will light up so that you can see the left side of the car, and then if you're turning right, the other one lights up so you can see the right side of the car. Take a look in here. These are the stock rims that comes on the Sport Package 335D. Now this is not the M Sport Package. Those come with different wheels. This is the Sport Package 335D, and these are my favorite wheels that it comes with. It's dirty, it's a bit nicked, but if you see inside, you can see the very large diameter brakes. This car has excellent brakes, and I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Alright, so you take a look at the side here. You got a very aggressive side line here, and everyone knows, you know, looking from far, this is definitely a BMW. Another thing I wanted to point out was that the windows are tinted, and I got these windows tinted at Sam's Auto Glass. He's a local here in Rockland County. He is great. Shout out to him. One last thing I wanted to point out before we go drive is the fact that in a stock 335D, you will have to put in DEF fluid, that's diesel exhaust fluid, into the diesel exhaust fluid tank, and that tank would be right here. The 335i, the 328i, those don't have that little hole there because they don't need DEF fluid. Alright, let's take a look at the driver's side cockpit, since it is the most important part of the car, as the driver will be spending the most amount of time in there. As you can see here, this is a nicely leather wrapped steering wheel. It's got great stitching right here. It's got a little metal piece here that feels really nice to the touch. It's actually metal. I'm not sure if it's aluminum or not, but it is definitely metal, some kind of metal. It's got the volume rocker right here. It's got the, you pick a next song or previous song, or you could switch between radio stations. It's got the cell phone voice command, and if you use the 6 CD player, you could control to there. I never do, so that's fine. As you can see, this has the paddle shifters. So this was an option on the Sport package, and you can actually control the transmission there, and I'll show you when I'm driving it how responsive it is. It's actually not too bad. As we go further back, you can see here the start button. It's right here, and this is not a keyless entry, so I have to put in the key right here, and then I press the button to start it, I press the button to stop it, and that's how that works. Right here is the intermittent wiper blades, up to turn on, down to turn off, and on the left you get your turn signals that no BMW drivers ever use. I'm just kidding, of course. That little button there that says BC, that's the computer, and that lets you toggle between all the different modes that computer has. And this is where the little screen, right in the middle, is where the screen is that you control that computer. So the rest of the cluster, I love it. I mean, I love the design of it. It's very simple, very well laid out. It's got the speedometer on the left. It's got the tachometer on the right. As you can notice, it only goes up to 5,000 RPMs. It is a diesel. Fuel gauge in the bottom left, and a instant miles per gallon gauge on the bottom right, which I kind of really use as a boost gauge. You know, if it's in boost, it'll be below 30 or 20. If it's out of boost, if it's not using that much boost, it'll be above 30. All right, so for the seats of this car, these are excellent seats. I love these seats, at least for the front. The front driver's seat is fully adjustable. It's got, I believe 16 or 18 way adjustability. This has the upgraded seats. It's got the upgraded leather on there, so the leather is extremely high quality. You can see down here it's got 2 memory modes, so 2 drivers can have different seat settings. Alright, and really quickly, for the passenger compartment, similar to the driver's side, the elbow rest is not padded enough, but it's there. One thing I wanted to mention, the door handles, very high quality. They are metallic, so you got that. One thing I do want to point out about the interior that I don't like, and nobody has ever liked in these cars, is the cup holders. These are quite useless, and they always have been. I used to own a E39 540 back in 2000, and those are even more useless. These are slightly better, but I'm always afraid that this is going to break one day, because that's what they do. These things get brittle and they break, and there's 2 of them. So there's one there, and there's one right there. So this is for the driver, and that one's for the passenger. Another thing I'd like to note is that since this is a rear-wheel drive car, I'll show you right here, it doesn't have that much space, or as much space as you'd expect in such a heavy, semi-large car. It's that's the transmission tunnel, and I can attest the transmission does go right in there, since I've changed the transmission fluid recently. And that's one thing to keep in mind. It's not a very spacious car, but it's good enough for me. And that's it for the front of the car. Let's take a look at the passenger side, or the passenger back. Alright, as we can see here, the passenger compartment doesn't have that much space. It still has nice materials back here. They haven't cheapened out here. It's very soft and padded, but not enough. Still very nice quality handles, but as you can see, there's not much space in here. was a very, very fast acceleration. So, let's go over some numbers first before we get a little too crazy. That torque number is ridiculous. It is, quite honestly, a lot of power. You can't really control it if you put your foot all the way down. It's, look at this guy in my lane. The biggest problem this car has is putting power down to the pavement. Of course, it's only a rear-wheel drive, so when you put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, it just wants to slide. It wants to slide, and it wants to wrap you on the next tree. All of that, of course, just makes this car a ball of fun. I mean, it just takes hills, it takes acceleration runs, it takes anything with no sweat at all. Fight the wheel a little bit there. Yeah, it's quite a lot. The suspension in this car is also very, very well done. It takes turns really well. The weakness this car has right now is really just the tires. So I replaced the front flat tires that the car comes with, and I put on some all seasons, and they work perfectly fine. Actually, if you know, Honda Accord and any other car, this would be a perfectly fine setup. In this car, it's just not enough tire. It really is not enough tire. They're comfortable, the tires, but as you can see, anytime you put the foot down, whether you're going straight or you're turning or anything, it just wants to slide. It can't handle the power, especially you know, when it's a little bit colder like today. But when it comes to the amount of power this car has, I mean, it's incredible. It really is all the power you can ever really want out of a car. I can't imagine anything more than, you know, 600 foot-pounds of torque. That's just a lot of torque. Let the car speak for itself. Yeah. As I was saying when I was looking at the exterior, these brakes are very massive brakes. They're very large brakes. They work very well in this car, and you do need them because it gets very fast very quickly. So when we decided to do it, we got the extra power, and another great advantage to this is that before we did the tune, we were getting about 35 miles to the gallon at most, 32, 35 miles to the gallon at most on the highway runs. Now we're getting 40, 42, 44 miles to the gallon on the highway, and that's pretty important to us since this is not only used, you know, to commute back and forth to the parking lot, as I said before, but whenever we go on long road trips, we take this car. This is the car to take. It's comfortable. It's fast. It's got the immense amount of torque. so you don't really need to put that much throttle input, and it just goes. Yeah. It likes to dance a little bit, especially when you put the foot down. So the engine is a sequential twin turbo, so it's got a small turbo and a larger turbo, and they both work really well together to pretty much eliminate turbo lag. But there's no way around it. There is some lag when you put in the when you accelerate. That's just one of the trade-offs that you're gonna have to deal with. It does do a lot better after the tune, and it does do better actually when you put it in manual mode. The transmission responds a little faster, and the throttle responds a little faster because that's the sport button for this car. It also holds your gears instead of changing the gear for you often. I also wanted to comment on these paddle shifters. They're very responsive. The thing is though, when you have a power plant this powerful, it doesn't really matter what gear you're in. Just kind of hit the gas and go at this point. There's so much power in this car. It doesn't matter like I said, it doesn't matter what your gear you're in. You just kind of put the pedal down. I'm in 5th gear. It just goes. It just wants to take off. Whew. That's a lot of acceleration. So this is a 6-speed transmission from ZF. It is a very, very good transmission. This is actually the same transmission they put in the Rolls-Royce Phantom, I believe. So you know it's a good transmission. This car would be better with the ZF 8-speed transmission. It's not as quick shifting as you want it to be, but it's honestly fast enough. And like I said, you put it in any gear, you hit the go pedal, and it just goes. This has a ton of power. So, other than that, I mean, that's the driving portion of the review. I'm gonna be doing a lot more talking about how the car drives, what the future of it is. So let's go ahead and go to the conclusion. Alright guys, so you saw from the outside, you saw from the inside, saw me driving it. You can see how enthusiastic I am about it. I do like this car a lot. There's not much in terms of drawbacks that I've pointed out. I'll say a couple things here. So this is a diesel car, and as some of you may or may not know, it sometimes can be difficult to find diesel stations here and there. I've only had a problem once where I had to go to 2 different gas stations to find diesel. That's really, you know, that was one time out of the almost 3 years I've had this car. So, not a big deal at all. Another few issues that, you know, the suspension it's a sport suspension, so it doesn't soak up. It's not a, you know, it's not an SUV. It's not going to soak up all the bumps and divots and things like that on the road as well as those. But for me, it's more than comfortable enough. The run flat tires are atrocious, so you need to change those immediately. The emission systems that were forced to be put on in the U.S. are atrocious. They will break and cost an arm and a leg to fix eventually, so get rid of those, or don't, depending on where you are. But they're a problem. They're something that you should be looking at. There are, and that's really, you know, that's really it. mean, I guess one of the other issues is that it's hard to find diesel-specific performance parts. So my performance parts that I've gotten in this car are actually from an enthusiast on the forums. His name is we call him Bohl, B-O-H-L Diesel. He's got a tuning shop up in upstate New York. He does all kinds of diesel work, and he actually custom built these downpipes, and he did the whole thing. The tuning was done out of Georgia. Very few. There's 2 tuning shops that I know of, maybe 3 that I know of. There's Jarek. There's one in Canada, in Toronto. The name escapes me, and the one that I have is from Georgia, and he's a really good guy, on a really good team. So, other than those little few things, as soon as you get those taken care of, this car is an amazing car to own. I don't ever see myself needing to upgrade from this car. I mean, I don't really need more power than this. 600 foot-pounds of torque, 400 horsepower, close to 400 horsepower. More than good enough for me. If it's scary, if it's kind of scary when you put the pedal to the floor, then I think it's good enough. So it gets great gas mileage on the highways. It's our, like I said many times, it's mostly our road trip car. We do use it daily. Besides the tuning that I've done to it, there's no problems at all. Tuning and the getting rid of the emission stuff, there's been pretty much no problems at all. Yeah, that's really it. So if you guys have any other questions or any other concerns, anything else you want to know about the car, please put them in the comments. I do my best to answer everything I can about it. If you didn't know anything about this car until now, I recommend looking into them. If you have the time and resources to get a little tuning project going, this is the car to be do it. I know the 335i is very, very popular with tuners because there's a lot of them, and it's really easy to tune them to really high horsepower. The diesel, in my opinion, and this is only my opinion, if you're going to have an automatic car, because these diesels only came in automatics, the diesel is the one to have. Now, if you need to have that stick shift, go with 335i, but if you're going to go with an automatic, go with the diesel. You won't regret it. It's a great power plant. The power is right off the bat. You put your foot down and you wait half a second, and then the turbos just blow your face off, basically. It's that good. So, as you can tell, I'm very, very happy with the car, and I'll be posting more videos on it as we go along. Alright, so it's getting a little dark. I'm going to wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you want more, don't forget to subscribe. I'll be, like I said, updating you guys on it. So, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.